I feel like the purpose of life is
What is your thought on dating apps these days?
it makes the dating process easier because you get to filter, you know? You get to kind of know a
But
person.
do you really though?
This one's hard because this one I'm going to get a lot of backlash from women out there. I know it.
Understand our attachment style and know how to go about these situations properly.
Would you rather die from cancer or dementia?
If you want your relationship to withstand the test of time, you have to have the hard conversations.
I love red flags. Woohoo! We already started.
Hi!
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Please Enlighten Me podcast. We didn't know we were on air.
Episode 3.
My name's Ashley. I'm your host. I'm here with
I
my
am
lovely
Tatiana, the
co-host.
co-host. And this is great. We're finally
You tricked
back.
us.
You definitely did.
I like it,
But,
though. That's good content. Those are
yeah.
good, what do you call that?
Bloopers.
There you go. Yeah.
First, I'm going to start off by saying, bro, getting here was, I got off work at 6 and I was like rushing home to get dressed and get ready to come here. And I know that you luckily I didn't have my kids today, but I know you had to get the kids
last time we're doing this on a weekday, that's for sure. We're going back to the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, but in light of Mother's Day being on Sunday, I think that I want to give us a round of applause for doing the damn thing.
We
girl.
got here. We got here like a whole hour late, but we got here.
I like 45 minutes. All right, give it to us.
We got here. Well, I mean, in my defense, the lanes, they had like 4 lanes closed off on the 836.
It's
so
freaking Miami.
that's just
girl,
not fair,
so
okay?
you should prepare for it.
I did the responsible thing and checked how long it would take to get here earlier, even through like rush hour traffic. That's the time I checked. And so I'm like, oh, later on at night at 9:30, it's going to be like easy peasy. No, add on like 20 more minutes to that
But we
because of the
live
traffic.
in South Florida, and so, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Life.
But anywho, so, you know, we're here. We're here.
Yeah,
We're
welcome
happy.
to episode 3. Finally, we're here.
Okay, so I want to start this episode with a random question.
Oh, man.
This is exciting.
Okay.
Okay, so when you get older, you're of age, you know, elderly age, and your time is coming to exit this planet.
Oh, man.
Would you rather die from cancer or dementia? Left field. I know you weren't expecting
I
that.
was definitely not expecting that, but I think that that's a really hard question because I don't want to forget like my kids or like forget.
So answer it right, exactly. So,
But I don't want my kids to see me in pain either or like very frail. So I think that that's painful for the kids either way because if I pass away and I don't remember you, they're gonna be like, gosh, like you gave birth to me, lady.
yeah. So which one would you pick?
I think I'd rather die from cancer.
Yeah, me too. I'm the same. High five. Yes. Okay.
Air five.
I caught it. I thought of the question because I had a conversation with my brother the other day at my mom's house. My brother's a different breed of people, though. So he was like, nah, I'd rather die of dementia. It's so much easier. You forget everybody. You forget everything.
That's
you forget
a
all your
very
worries.
selfish way to
You
think
forget
of
all
it.
your worries and you just die peacefully. And I'm like, no, I would hate that. Like, I would hate to get to the end of my life and not remember any of my memories that I made.
Remember
It's like,
what you built. Like this
Right.
is your legacy. This is your kids.
exactly. I lived this whole life to not remember shit at the end. Like, what the hell?
No, yeah. I don't think that I would want to go out that way either. And I think that also it's like a very, like I said, I think that that's a very selfish way to live.
Like I said, my brother's a
I
different
don't
breed.
want my kids to see me in pain with cancer
Yeah.
and all that. But I also don't want to go out and then be like, yeah, she didn't even remember who I was.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Imagine that. Imagine like your kids, like you're dying and they come to see you like every day and you're like, who are you? You know, that hurts. Like, damn, my own mom, she don't. And you try to sit there and like be like, Mom, remember when you used to take me here? Huh? What? You know, like that's so
Yeah.
sad.
No, I wouldn't.
I would hate that. I would never ever want that.
No, neither.
So you're a cancer girl. Oh, you really are a
Actually,
cancer girl.
Actually, I'm a cancer.
That's crazy.
Based
'cause
on
you-
my
yeah,
zodiac.
'cause
But
you
yeah.
actually are a cancer.
Give me don't give me the cancer. I'm not gonna speak that into existence. But I think that would
Yeah,
be.
I would pick the
I would
same.
pick none. But if I had,
I mean,
to,
no, if I had to, I would want to go in my sleep. I think that's the ideal
that's
way.
my grandfather passed away in his sleep. So,
That's
you
the
know,
best.
hopefully.
But then again, is it the best? Because think about it. Like, I guess if you die in your sleep of old age, it kind of hits your family as a shock. Like they may have expected it because you're so old, but then again, it's like, I guess like when you're dying of cancer,
But-
at least they're ready for it. They can prepare.
You're never really fully prepared for death, though. Like you can prepare as much as you want, but you're never fully going to be prepared for it. And I feel like being able to say like me, yeah, I think that it's kind of, I was very young when my grandfather passed away, but my grandmother, from what I remember, she went to go cut his nails in the morning or something and he was gone. But so like I know that that might have been traumatic on her end, but also like just to be able to know like he went peacefully, I think that that's a little bit of a relief for people. So
yeah, it is.
I don't rather than like like my brother passed away in a car accident and
Yeah.
it took me a long time to kind of cope with that because I was reeling and like the thoughts in my head was, did he feel it? Was it painful? Did he go instantly? Was it
Yeah,
a
the
prolonged
sudden
process, you know? So I feel like I think that going in your sleep is probably the better way for your family
Yeah.
to cope with it.
Yeah,
you
especially
know?
when you're old. Definitely
Yeah.
when you're
Oh, for
old.
sure.
You know, when everybody dies at a young age, no matter how they die, it's
Actually, why did we start so morbid? Jesus.
because it's been a rough day. Okay, next question. So, another random one. Now, in this new evolution of AI and robots taking over our world, unfortunately, how do you feel, or what would you prefer? A doctor, a human doctor, to perform surgery on you, or a robot?
Okay. Tough because the robot is supposed to be programmed to know everything, to know the ins and outs of what artery to do this with and what they're supposed to be doing, right? So they're programmed to know how to fix it and make it right and perform that surgery. But if something goes wrong, are they going to care about the life that they're holding within their robot hands? Like, I feel like having a human doctor who has like more of like I said, a personable, like, this is a person on my table. They have a family, like they have feelings.
Some of these doctors don't give a.
Well, some
Some
of
of
these
them be
people
high
in life
and
don't care about
when they're
feelings anymore.
performing.
But you know, what we want to think is that this doctor is not just thinking about like the money part of it. It's like, this is a human life in my hands, and I want to try to save this person with everything that I got. So if something goes wrong, I'm not gonna just be like, well, another one bites the dust. I feel like a robot wouldn't have that sentiment in them.
Well, from the things that I've read, they're programmed to understand emotion as well. They're literally like programmed to know everything. And so they are in a way programmed to understand that this person has a life, a family, you need to be delicate. Like all of that actually goes into their programming. So maybe they might actually have more of a heart than an actual human who's like, another one bites the dust. I've been doing this all day since 5 a.m. in the morning. Like,
I'm tired.
Because I mean, honestly, humans become numb to things. Like firefighters.
We do get desensitized.
Yeah,
yes.
are some of them, to me personally, firefighters are some of the most desensitized.
Stop. That's the career I'm going for.
But because they see so many traumatic, crazy things that
I know.
eventually they're just like, eh. I actually did jury duty not too long ago. And the case was this woman who she slipped and fell out of Walgreens. Because there was a leak in one of their little fridges, and she cracked her head, and she like literally lost half of her brain. They had to do surgery and all that stuff. And so in jury duty, they bring you all the evidence from everybody. Part of that evidence was the transcripts of what the firefighters' conversation was with the lawyers and the attorneys and stuff. And these firefighters were so numb. But I wasn't surprised because I already knew this. But the things that they were said, one of them said something like, I don't know, man, I could barely remember. I have like 20-something calls a day. The lady fell. She was unconscious when we got here. What more do you want? This was literally in the transcripts. They're numb. They're super numb. So I'm assuming like doctors, their job is to be a lot more careful and care. But are they really? You know, when you become so desensitized, and like maybe a robot actually has that programmed into them where they kind of can't desensitize. But at the same time, a robot can glitch. Like, like, that's the part I would be scared of. Like a robot glitching
I
in
think
the middle of
that-
like open heart surgery.
I think that's I don't know, because the human side of me, the one that's like sensitive, the cancer in me,
Yeah,
wants
but
to
not
say
everybody's a
that.
cancer, Tati. I hate to
Oh
bust your bubble. We're
gosh,
not all
geez.
nice in this world.
I know. I would want to believe that the human is gonna want to do everything in their
Yeah,
power
yeah.
to
We like to
save me,
believe that the
but I get where
people
you're
are.
coming from at that standpoint. Like we do get tired, so
Yeah.
I guess like what? So you, I guess you would go for the robot.
No, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. At first, I was human because I thought this. Really, my thing is the glitching. I'm like, any electronic device can glitch, like including a robot. So that's my number one reason for wanting it to be a human, is because I don't want it to glitch on me. And like the rest of my life is now a glitch. Like I'm walking through life like just because he fucked up the left side of my brain. But that's my only reason why. But I started to think about this like on the way. I'm like, but wait a minute, because
But
humans are
there's
assholes.
like a lot of but wait a minute
Some-
in this question.
Listen to this story. So there's a girl, and this is why I'm telling you, doctors are desensitized. There's this girl I know who she recently mentioned that she was dating a doctor, or she had met him on a dating app. I don't know. But he's a doctor. I just said that he's a doctor. I said that twice. It's been a long day. So he does a lot of what's that little white powder that people like to do to get some
the
energy?
booger sugar?
Yeah, so he does that, right? And I'm like, she tells me he does this when he goes to work and everything. And I asked her this question, wondering if he was this exact type of doctor. And I'm like, what kind of doctor is he? She's like, he's a cardiologist, a heart doctor who does cocaine. It's amazing, isn't it? It's like the biggest oxymoron ever. So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, we can't even trust our doctors, bro. We might want to trust these robots a little more.
I guess, right? But
Okay, so yeah, I know that was all crazy. Do you have anything that you want to maybe get off your chest?
I don't know, because you have my mind reeling off of this question.
Am I? Yeah. You're gonna go to sleep and have nightmares tonight of a robot just ruining your
I
life.
just hope that I never need surgery ever in my life. But I would like to. So, well, you mentioned dating apps. Your friend met somebody on a dating app. What is your thought on dating apps these days?
These days,
Yeah, these days.
I think they're really good. Like I used to have mixed feelings about them because, I mean, the person I'm with, I met him on a dating app, and I've been with him for almost 6 years, 5.5.
Okay.
So I can't complain. But when I first joined a dating app many, many years ago, like years before I met him, it was just a bunch of weirdos. It was a bunch of weirdos. And I was just like, oh my God, like, I don't want to do this. Like, so I didn't have luck. So I got off of them. And then I was the girl that was like, oh my God, no, the dating apps are for like losers and this, that, and the other. And then eventually, years of singleness later, I'm like, let's try this again. Who knows, you know? So I tried it again, and that's where I met, you know, who I'm with now. So it worked out. But it is like a job, honestly. It's good for, you know, single moms that don't really have like the time to go out and date and all of that. It's like, it makes the dating process easier because you get to filter, you know? You get to kind of know a
But
person.
do you really though?
Ooh, tell me, what do you feel?
Because I don't feel
what
like.
are your thoughts?
I think that even just in general, dating in general, but on a like you can input anything that you want on there, so you can't filter anything. Mm-hmm. It's just like, I guess it's just like dating in human form. Everybody's gonna show up a certain way when they first meet you because they want you to see a certain version of them. But
Yeah, that's true.
and it's a
facade.
lot easier to do that behind a screen.
It is.
So
It's like low-key catfishing.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't even have to be looks wise, like just personality wise,
Right.
which is a big thing. Like
I actually saw a video the other day on Instagram. I don't know if this was real or not, but it's this girl, right? She's like, the camera's like showing her going through like her husband's email, and it says, you know, she just found his Tinder account and or Hinge, I think it was Hinge, his Hinge account. And she's like reading and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And he walks in and he's like, hey honey, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she's like, I just found your Hinge account. And he's like, oh, that's old. That's old. That's been for, I forgot to deactivate it. And she's like, hey, you're on here lying to women. You say you work out every day. You don't work out. You don't even have a gym membership. What is this? And then she goes on to say like all the lies that he's putting, right? You don't read books. You barely even like whatever. And then at the end, she's like, God, these poor women. these poor women. It was so funny, but that's exactly what you're saying.
It's you can write anything you want in there. You can make yourself anybody
Yeah.
that you want to be in there, and
But I mean,
unfortunately,
regardless, the
that's
dating
not.
process is hard because whether you meet on a dating app or whether you meet in person at a bar, people for those first couple weeks, they're gonna show you what they feel you want to see, regardless. It's up to you to really know how to read between the lines. And I feel like the older we get, both men and women, especially if we're still single, we've dated enough to kind of we need to like, you know, understand psychology and understand where to see the red flags
Yeah.
in between the lines, like I'm saying, like
You're
be
sure,
able to
like-
notice, huh?
You sure the red flags is not just like a carnival? Like,
I love red flags. Woohoo! Fuck the green ones. Who needs a green flag? No, but I mean, yeah, and a lot of times, especially as women, we love to dodge those red flags. Honey, we're like, oh,
it's nothing. I can fix it.
yeah, it'll be better with time.
I think it's just really hard, right? Especially like, I think that you have to understand people and what they've been through, and then I think that that's something that comes more with age. Understanding who we show up as in relationships or in connections or friendships, anything. Who we show up as, like, it strongly has to do with our past, our history, our past, our traumas, what we saw growing up, what we experienced in certain friendships and certain relationships. Like, all of that kind of stacks up to make who we are in that moment and how we show up in these things. And I do think that, like, we choose to be who we are in certain connections stemming from those experiences. Because I can choose to be like a nasty, mean person because of my pain and what I've been through in the past.
Right.
Or I can choose to be somebody who doesn't want to put that on somebody else. You know, like, understand that I've had my traumas. And I mean, this takes work to be able to understand where those traumas come from and those triggers, and being able to, like, notice that and before or after. Maybe you might have a trigger and you might slip for a second and be like, wait, you know, I can't put this on you. This is from
That's
my
growth,
past.
Tati. That's
Yeah,
growth.
it
That's
is,
evolution.
but
It's very
people
good.
have to be willing to do that, to be able to show up properly.
They have
in-
to
in a
understand
relationship.
what that even
Yeah.
is, because some people don't know how to tap into that. Some people get traumatized, get hurt by the relationships, and they get tainted. They get like, you know what, F men. And, you know, all men ain't
Or
shit.
F women,
and-
right? Let's be fair
Yeah,
here,
the
but,
same
you
thing.
know.
Yeah, all women are gold diggers and like, fuck them and da, you know. And it's understandable. Like, you build a guard, you start to get guarded. But
And even beyond that, it doesn't even have to be F men, F women. It stems too from our childhood and what we saw growing up and how we see that these relationships work, or how we see that, like, if I do this, like, feelings are wrong. I shouldn't have, if, like, on a man's standpoint, it's like, I can't show feelings because feelings are like a sign of weakness. And
I love that we're talking about
And-
this.
and like, for women, it's like, I have to be this strong, independent woman because, you know, this is where we live. And it's just, everything stems from something. And then that always comes up in our new connections. And I feel like it's so important to be able to, like, with every friendship, if every, like, step that you go along, I think that doing the work on yourself in all of those transitions is so important, because like, I've read something, I think I told you that. I read something the other day. What was it? It said,
Hold on, time out. Is her mic good? Because I feel like her mic is though. It's good? Okay, sorry.
okay.
If you want to move it towards you a little bit, like it moves.
Just to make sure the audio is good, you know. Then we have to like crop your whole
You're good, you're good.
deep conversation out.
So I read something the other day, and it really, like, stuck with. I kind of, like, sometimes I'll get these little, I don't know, quotes or messages. Instagram has a lot of that stuff. but,
right.
one that came up is, trauma explains behavior. Trauma does not excuse behavior. And I feel like that really sat with me, because I could tell you a whole laundry list of things that I've been through in my past, and then I can make that an excuse for how I treat you now. But if I want to build on something, I need to work on that, because an excuse is an excuse. Just like, oh, no excuses, go to the gym, which
Yeah. Oh, is that what that says? Oh, I didn't know
no,
that.
that's not what that says. I was
Oh,
showing
it's your
you my
muscles.
no excuses. You know,
I'm
we
like,
gotta
damn,
show up at
Tati,
the
you
gym.
like
We gotta
really-
show up at work. It's the same way we gotta show up in relationships.
And for ourselves, because at the end of the day, we gotta do it for us first, in order to show up for our partner the best version of
for your
ourselves.
partner, for your kids, anybody. Like,
Yeah.
If you're not,
You gotta want to have that desire to be like, damn, I want to be better for me, and that's I think when you fall in love with yourself, not in a not in like a narcissistic way, but you want to evolve and be a better version of you, so that everybody around you can reap the rewards of the best version of you.
Yeah.
Best mom, best sister, best friend, best wife, everything.
it's unrealistic to think that we are going to be able to show up as our best self every day. Like, life is life, and
Yeah, no, yeah.
cost of living is high,
Things
and,
piss us
and
off.
work
There's
is
a
hard,
PMS,
and being a single
hormones,
mom,
you know.
it's hard. But being able to, like, say, this thing that's triggering me in this moment is not your fault. It's based probably on something that's happened to me in my past, and I can't project that onto you. Like, being able to just kind of like
Catch
see
yourself,
that.
yeah. It's like,
catch
it's about
'cause
catching
You're gonna
it.
slip up.
Yeah,
Don't
we're
get
not
me
perfect.
wrong, you're gonna slip up, but if you can, like, notice that moment and be like, it all depends on where you go from there. Like, you
And-
can take it really ugly, or you
Yeah,
can be like,
right, exactly.
hold on, let me
You-
just step back for a second and catch my bearings and understand where this is coming from.
Yeah. It's like they say, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react
100%.
to that. And like we said, there's things that will always alter our mood and our desire to react in a negative way, but it's about catching yourself. Once you tap into that part in your brain that says, I want to be better, I want to learn, I want to grow, that switch that turned on is the one that's going to help you catch yourself when you're about to go off and curse your kids out or curse your husband out to the moon and back. You know, that's the part that's going to be like, okay, I'm feeling aggravated, I'm feeling irritated, everybody just give me a minute. I love you all, but just give me a minute, you know?
And even if you catch yourself after, because hey, sometimes we react and it happens too fast for us to be like, oh, hold on.
Yeah.
But being able to catch yourself and say,
Take
hey,
accountability.
my bad.
Yeah,
Like,
and apologize. That's a
I'm
beautiful thing
sorry.
too.
I'm sorry that I reacted that way. That was, it wasn't right. Mm-hmm. And it's good to show your kids that it's okay to say sorry, and it's okay
Yes.
that you went at it first. Sometimes we gotta freaking vent in that way. But
Sometimes when I've like gone off on the boys, like I have twin boys, for those of you watching. So sometimes when I go off on them, like, and I haven't in a long time because I've been able to work on it and control it. Like, I've gotten a lot better, but sometimes I feel so bad that I sit them down and I'm like, you guys, I know I crashed out. I crashed out.
that's what they call it these days, right?
I'm like, and I'm so sorry. And like, and after I apologize to them, they're always so like accepting. I feel so much better. I feel better, and I actually feel growth, you know? And those moments though, like, we need those bad moments. We can't have perfect times all the time. We need the bad moments in order to practice what you say, in order to practice catching yourself from reacting negatively. And if you end up reacting negatively, you have the opportunity now to take accountability and apologize and practice apologizing. So we need these bad moments to help us grow and get better. It's all a matter of just like,
It's the reality of life.
Yeah. And
your
the
kids
purpose
need to
too.
see it too. Like, you can't shelter them from that. They're
when-
gonna experience it too, and they have to see, like, okay, this happens. How do I come back from this? They can't like bottle it all up and think that this is abnormal, or like, I can't be feeling these things. I have to be perfect, A-okay all the time. Like, that's just not how life is.
Yeah. They're the boys, they tend to like I said, we've had a better relationship lately, but like sometimes, they're teenagers. So they're like, Mom, blah, 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 blah. So this morning we were driving to school and there was a song on that they really liked, right? And Isaiah was in the back and I kept talking to him and asking him questions and like, da, 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 da. And like one of those times I looked at him and he was like, Mom, can you just let the song play, please? Like, I want to hear the song. And I was like, I literally did that. And he felt so bad. He's like, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He started to like rub my shoulder and he felt so bad. But it was like that moment where he kind of caught himself. Like I did it in a silly way, but like internally I was like, dang, okay, my bad. But like he was like, oh, Mom, I'm sorry, you know? But yeah, it's good to see you apologize so that they learn to apologize as well.
Yeah.
You know? That's definitely.
It's hard for a lot of people to do.
It
So a
is.
lot of people are sitting in their pride and ego so much that
Yeah.
it's like.
But
I
after
will
you
never
apologize, you
admit-
feel so much better. It's
Yeah.
hard to do it, but then when you do it, even in my relationship, when I apologize for when I know I like messed up and I'm just like, oh God, I gotta apologize. But I do it, and you know he's like so like accepting of it, and his reaction is really well. I feel so much better and happier, and like a weight is lifted, and I just feel good, like a good person, like
Yeah.
you know.
But it takes a lot for people to get to where they can actually apologize.
No, it really,
like
it really, really does. Yeah.
because some people sit so heavily in that ego,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's an ego that's meant to protect us. Like we're never wrong, but
Yeah. And it's like you said, I feel like the purpose of life is really two things. One, for me, the purpose, we all share a common purpose, which is to work for God or the higher power, whatever you believe in, you know, God, Allah, whatever, is to work for that energy. And by what I mean by that is basically just helping others in any way, shape, or form, whether it's a simple hello on the street, if you see someone maybe having a bad day, cheer them up, whether it's, you know, if you're financially stable and you're able to offer to charities and stuff like that. But helping one another is one of the biggest purposes that we all have on life. We only have each other. We got one another. We got to help each other out no matter what. And then also another purpose is to evolve. We're born, in my opinion, we're born flawed. And throughout life, the purpose of life is to get better, acknowledge those flaws and practice on being better. So when you come to the end of life, and hopefully you don't have dementia and forget about all the hard work you put in, but when you come to the end of your life, you know, you are a different person than who you were many, many years ago. You're a wiser person. You're able to give back to the younger generation. You're able to give them more wisdom, more and help in that way. So it's like life is a constant evolution and growth process, you know,
yeah.
mentally, spiritually, and everything. How much time do we have, by the way? I want to get into another topic.
27.
Like
Oh.
27 minutes?
So I agree mostly with what you said. I do not believe we come into the world flawed. I think we come into the world as babies because we're babies. I think that we come into this world pure and we
Okay.
have to learn how to cope with life, learn how to cope with the tough times and the happy times and how to dance in the storms, you know, like not everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time, and you have to be able to know how to come through that and still be a good person. Like
Yeah. Right. And I understand exactly what you're saying. The reason I guess why I say I feel like we're flawed is really like maybe like it was really one reason, but now you triggered another reason with that. So now I'm thinking like, so yeah, when we're born, we're babies. And we can't even communicate. So we already fucked up because we can't talk. We got to scream at the top of our lungs just to get anything done for us, you know, which is what I feel like on a regular day basis. But so, you know, but it's we're like flawed almost in that way because we can't walk, we can't talk, we can only scream and cry. And so we're growing and we're evolving and we're getting better. And even as you become a toddler, you don't really learn, you don't know how to communicate your feelings. So like when you get a lot of little kids, I had this problem with Malik and Isaiah when I first started reprimanding them and, you know, like spanking them, these little mofos would smack me back, you know? So when I would tell them something that they didn't like, they registered like, okay, when you don't like something, you hit. So they would, you know, and that, you know, but it was a learning process as a toddler that no, you're not supposed to scream, kick, and cry when you want something. That's what you used to do when you couldn't talk. But now you got to evolve and grow. So that's why I kind of say like we're flawed. And then another thing that I really want to get into, back to kind of the dating part.
okay.
So I feel like we're born with our reproductive systems, right? Okay, so this is my theory on dating, and like this is just something I want to
Dating,
share.
relationships.
Yes, this is why I feel like a lot of men and women can't get along, and we can't like not that we can't get along, but like relationships always a lot of relationships hit this wall, this same wall, right? And I feel like if you really dig to the root of what this problem is, it comes down to your reproductive systems, both the man and the woman. Now, what I mean by that is, well, that's one thing. Okay, so I'm going to touch on another thing. I'm all over the place right now. But like how you said earlier, how men are taught to like suppress their emotions. That comes from a little boy. So there's this big disconnect I feel between men and women, and it comes from little boys are taught by the men in their lives and even by the mothers and women to not cry when something happens.
We don't cry.
Right? But boys don't cry. Stop crying. We don't cry, right? And girls aren't taught that. So what happens when you got a little boy and a little girl, same age, and you take away both of their toys? They're both going to start crying. They're both going to start crying because they're both human. And they're both sad that you took their toy away from them. So they both authentically have the same reaction, which is distress and, and unhappiness. But for some reason, we tell the boy, no, suppress that shit. Don't cry. You're not supposed to cry, boys. So boys have to be, while girls can be like, ah,
Yeah.
And we're allowed to just emotional and just let it all out, right? That's what boys are taught. Another thing, and then girls on one side are also being taught princess stories, the fairy tale ending, the Prince Charming, the happily ever after. We fall in love with that story.
Fairy tales.
We become addicted to that story all through our teenage years, adolescence, 30s, 40s, 50s. We can't let that go. That a happy relationship is supposed to be like Ariel and Eric from The Little Mermaid. Beauty and the Beast. Like,
Girl, they had their troubles though.
they all do. But what happens at the end? Yeah. At the end, and it's always the same story. The man is fighting for the woman to be with her no matter what, And to her, he's like, you never see them arguing. What princess movie are they like? You know what? You need to take the trash out. Blah, 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 blah. We don't see that. It's like this beautiful story. So in our heads, we grow up thinking that's
Reality.
That's what we're aiming for. What happens to boys when boys are being raised, especially like in their teenage adolescent years? They're taught to have multiple girlfriends, especially by the older male influences in their life. They'll be like, oh, how many girlfriends you got at school, huh? You got 2, 3 girlfriends? Ah, I knew my boy. That's my boy, That's what boys are taught. Like, that's what they're praised for. And then we continue to go into adolescence. Don't be a hoe. Don't be a whore. Keep your legs closed. Don't be a slut. So we teaching the boys to hoe around, but the girls got to keep their legs closed. Mm-hmm. Do you see where the disconnect is already starting at the earliest age? At the earliest stage possible. We're raising our generation to kind of go like this. And how are we supposed to come together and build a family and have a union when we're completely raising them with different theories in their heads?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And then when I go back to the reproductive system, this one's hard because this one I'm going to get a lot of backlash from women out there. I know it. But here we go. So, what is a common problem and flaw that men do in relationships that a lot of times ends the relationships?
Cheat?
Exactly.
Not just men, but yes.
Women cheat too. But
yes.
It's a bit of a known... it's not, I don't know. I haven't done my research. The only research I have is really my life experiences up to this age of, which I'm not going to say. I'm not going to tell you guys how old I am. We're not doing that today. Maybe another day. But, but I've seen what I've been through, what my friends have been through, what my friends' moms have been through, what my parents have been through. I've seen a lot of relationships, not just what I've experienced, but what I've seen. And I see majority of men in some way, shape, or form will cheat versus the woman. Yes, I've seen women cheat too, but I've seen men do it a lot more, So it's kind of like a common thing. So if you really kind of go back to it, and okay, so that's that question. So what's the number one thing with women that men complain about?
Sex.
The flaw with women.
Not wanting to have sex.
Really?
Well, that's not my flaw. But
that is a big one. That is a big one. I'm thinking another one though.
Oh, the number one flaw of women being jealous?
Well, and what is jealousy? Okay, so emotions. Women are known to be
Emotions.
over
Okay.
emotional and they overreact and like, especially when they're PMSing and yada yada. Like we have a harder time controlling our emotions. And it's, in my opinion, for two reasons. A, when we were little, we weren't told to suppress our emotions. We weren't told girls don't cry. We were told to just we weren't stopped. And then B, our reproductive system. When we're, PMSing, our hormones go crazy. And it's really hard for us to sometimes to control our emotions. We get irritable, we get nasty, we get aggressive, we get like, we can't even stand ourselves. At least me. I don't know about you, but I'm talking about myself. So, and I know a lot of women feel the same. Like, we are a lot more emotional beings than men are. And men don't receive that very well. It's almost like you could be telling a man a message that's like, you have a good point, but the way you're delivering the message is that he is tuning you out. He can't even hear you because all he hears is the nagging and it turns him off and it just makes him kind of just be like, shut the fuck up. Like, honestly, because of the way that we're delivering the message, because we're so in our emotions. And so I feel like that comes down at the end of the day to our upbringing and our reproductive system, our hormones. We're meant to be emotional like that. And then with men, also their upbringing, they suppress their emotions, but also, they're the ones that are meant to reproduce. So if you really think about it, a man needs to come in order for there to be life. Does that sound bad saying that? I feel like, is there a more professional way? A man needs to ejaculate, in order for there to be babies. But a woman doesn't. A woman doesn't at all. A woman doesn't even have to have a sex drive at all in order to get pregnant. But a man does have to have a sex drive. So think about that. Men were created by God to have a more intense sex drive than the woman in order to create life. That's just a natural thing. So that's something that they struggle with. Just like we struggle with controlling our emotions, especially during that time of month, men struggle with, fidelity and with, monogamy or whatever. Not only because they were raised, being praised for having 1, 2, 3 girlfriends, and like the more girlfriends you have, the better, and on top of that, their reproductive system. It's like they have those two things, and then we have these two things that are just not connecting. It's causing, freaking bomb. It's causing divorces all over the world. At least that's what I feel. So that's why I say that it comes down to our reproductive systems. And not to say that those are excuses for us to allow it to happen. So we just need to acknowledge, like women need to acknowledge that about men, that they struggle with that. They struggle with fidelity because of the way that they were created and the way that they were brought up. We struggle with controlling our emotions because of the way we were brought up and because of our biological makeup at the end of the day. So it's on us it's on like the men to control themselves, and learn, do the things that they need to do to try to be, more of a one-woman man, and we need to work on controlling our emotions if we want relationships to work in this world, but people don't acknowledge those things. Women are just like, he cheated, he's a fucking asshole, he's a fucking piece of shit, but he's a great dad. He brings money in, he pays all the bills, he's an incredible person to his parents, everybody, but he struggles with the same thing that so many men struggle with.
I just don't think that is singular to men. And while I do hear what you're saying, and I think that it's true it's common more so in men, I think that it has a lot to do with the upbringing. Mm-hmm. And I don't agree that every upbringing is how many girls you got, because there is a lot of good men out there who will teach their son, like,
but it's not just you're not just raised by your parents. You're raised by your peers. You're raised by
you're not. But if you have a
society.
strong household, which we would hope, right? Then you're going to see how your mom is being treated. The father figure, if say it's a household that has a daughter and a son, they're going to want their daughter to see how a woman should be treated. And so they're going to teach their son how to properly treat a woman as well. And it revolves all around that. That's where I say that, yes, the way you show up in relationships has a lot to do with your upbringing, which where, you know, if you have an upbringing where you see your dad cheating, your mom cheating, and that's just a normal part of life, then that's what you're going to do. But if you're brought up in a household where even if the parents are not together, but, you know, there's still that honor in those relationships, then you can grow up with, I don't agree where it's just, I'm sorry, I now have more of a sex drive than I did when I was married.
What? Tell them, girl.
I now and that, this is a lot, that wasn't present in my marriage, and that wasn't because of me. So I do not believe that all men have a higher sex drive. I think that it has a lot to do with the relationship that you're in, and the circumstances and all
that
of that.
definitely.
And my ex is a good dad, and he, to my knowledge, never cheated but I don't think that I agree with. I think that a lot
But
of
take
it,
yourself out of the equation, though, because
I
every
can take
circumstance
myself out of the equation,
is-
and I have seen, but I've also seen women cheat.
Yeah.
And I've seen them cheat and justify it with like women cheat on an emotional standpoint, and it's because we're missing this. And a lot of times that is true, but you're still cheating.
Right, but that's the thing. Women will cheat for emotion, like
But you're still cheating.
right. But men cheat off of lust.
But you're still cheating.
But the lust will happen a lot more off. Like a woman will
Yeah,
cheat.
because you can see a beautiful
A lot of
looking
times when a
woman or
woman cheats,
fine-ass
she's already
man.
out of the relationship. A lot of
Yeah,
times,
I
she's
agree.
already checked out. She's cheating. She's having an affair. She's actually falling in love
I
with this
agree,
guy. Before
but
you know it, the
you're
relationship's
still
over.
cheating at the end
but
of the day.
think about,
So,
but that's one time and it's over.
Nah.
Versus a man who's just cheating off of lust over and over and over and over and over again. And you may only find out about one time, you know?
and you may only
But
find out
he's
about one time that a woman cheated.
Because it may have only been the
because
one
they
time.
might be better at hiding it.
That's what they say. They say that women are better at hiding the cheating than men are.
I think
because
that-
I think men are just more careless, I guess, than women. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like I condone cheating. That I don't. I just think that it is a lot of how we do things is how we're brought up, and it is on the respect level that we have on the relationship. Because I know that if I'm in something where I feel that this is solid, I'm not going to possibly ruin it over one night of like passion, you know?
Because you're a woman. A man doesn't think that way.
I would hope not, I guess. But
We don't, right? That's the delusion that we have as women. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We live in this bubble that we feel because us women feel that nurturing,
I'd rather be
loving
single
thing.
if I got to cheat.
We assume that the man feels the same thing. Men are not as sensitive as us. Men are not as nurturing as us. Men, they weren't created that way. That's why I always say it comes out down to our biological makeup, you know? And again, this is why I say I'm going to get like probably girls like chewing me up because they're like, you just going to let a man cheat all? No, I'm not going to let a man cheat on me. But I understand why men have a hard time staying faithful. I understand it. So I guess understanding it helps me to...
I think that I could have an understanding as to why anybody cheats. I can understand it. I mean, there is always something that's like, ooh, that's a shiny coin. Let me go play with it. Like, I can understand. It doesn't condone it. I don't think you're condoning it either. And so I don't see why anybody would chew you out. I think that us as humans have to know how to control that. And I know, I understand where, I mean, maybe men may have a harder time. But I don't think that it rings true with everybody. I think that if you're
not
brought and
everybody.
you have like, you know, loyalty in your heart, you're brought up on the right standards, whether you have a household that is mom and dad or separate, I think that we can control that. But it's harder.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to do harder things.
Yeah, I feel like for men, like some of the things that can help them control, you know, their lust is not looking at porn so much, because men look a lot of porn. Men watch a lot of porn. You know, girls watch porn too, yeah. But imagine however much porn you watch, men is watching it like twice as much. Their Instagrams, like you open their Instagrams and it's just tits and ass. You know, that's what their algorithm is. So if they can train themselves to not, you can change your algorithm. Start looking at like bunnies and look, he's shaking his head. You see, he's with me. It's true. If you want to be a better man and you love your woman, but you have lust for women, that's natural.
Yeah.
But you know you're in love with your woman.
Yeah, I don't just. I
But
agree
you
with
gotta
that.
learn to control your lust. Change your algorithm. Stop watching porn. Commit to that, and I promise you that your lust level will lower, and it'll help you to not have the urge to cheat every time you see a beautiful woman walking by. You know, and it'll actually maybe help you appreciate your woman more because you're not seeing so much tits and ass anymore. Now you're more admiring the tits and ass that you have at home with your wife, you know?
Yeah.
But it's all about men practicing that, you know? And it's us practicing pretty much everything you said
Yeah,
earlier.
that's exactly what I was trying to what I was
Catching
saying.
ourselves when we're about
We
to crash
have-
out
We all have
and
that strong
saying
urge,
namaste. You know?
but- Nah, bitch, I'm going insane.
You know, because sometimes even any argument in the household that has nothing to do with cheating, like I said, taking out the trash. Sometimes you gotta tell a man to take a trash out 5 times before he does it. And what do you want to do? You want to blow the fuck up, and you want to be like, I fucking told you to take the fuck. But instead of doing that, like really, really sit down with your man and be like, listen, baby, I know this may be petty to you, but there's a lot of things that I do in the house, and I continuously ask you to take the trash out and you don't do it. It honestly feels like a slap to my face. It feels like you don't appreciate me. Like, please, just please. I don't want to crash out on you. I don't want us to argue over something so stupid. But please just try to make a better, you know, initiative to take
that's called
the trash
being an
out,
adult.
please. Or I'm going to throw you in the trash.
That's called being an adult and being able to have
Those conversations.
The
But women,
hard conversations.
yeah, but
taking the trash out is not the hard conversation.
no, there's much
But
more. I'm giving you like a small
I know,
example.
I know what you're
There's
saying.
much more
but like,
difficult
you
conversations.
have to be able to have the mature conversations, the hard conversations, to be able to get through. If you want your relationship to withstand the test of time and all the things that
Absolutely.
life is going to throw at you, you have to have the hard conversations. A lot of that has to do with your attachment style, with the way you were brought up, because your attachment style strongly has to do with your past experiences. And that's where I say our traumas explain our behaviors. They don't excuse it, because if you want to do something about it, you will put in the effort. So if you want your relationship to last, you can have all these past issues, but you can see it. You can say, oh, this is a trigger for me, so let's talk about it. Or give me a second. Let me figure this out, and then let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You can't run from every hard conversation. On the one hand, of the person who wants to run, and you cannot expect that on the person. There's those okay, so it's avoidant attachment and anxious attachment. The avoidant is
I was about to ask you, like, what do you mean by the
attachment?
attachment?
The avoidant attachment style is going to say, like, too many feelings. This is overwhelming. I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone. Shut you out.
And that creates
and
distance.
avoidance a lot of times will, harp on the flaws of people as much as they care about them, so that they can desensitize themselves to that person. Like, And then when everything clears, they're going to say, oh, wait, that was a little bit harsher. Like, I don't see, like, I see you as more, I understand that you're more than that. The anxious person, if there's an issue, is going to, like, go into overdrive and trying to fix it because they don't like the problem and they're scared. Everything stems
that's
from
me.
fear.
I think that's
Everything's
me.
Me too. Everything stems from fear. I want to fix it right now
Sorry,
because I
babe.
don't want you to leave. I don't want you to. But
Yeah.
the reality is, I can never force anyone to stay.
Right.
So if they're gonna leave, they're gonna leave anyways. So we have to, as humans, be able to understand our attachment style and know how to go about these situations properly. Because if we're dealing with somebody who wants to run from everything and we want to fix everything, you're just going to further push them. Sorry. You're going to push them away.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with it right now. And then you're going to, on the opposite end is like, you're going to leave this person feeling abandoned. And
Yeah,
like, oh
yeah,
my
they're
God.
both right. They're two extremes.
You have to be able to see where, okay,
There has to be
maybe
like a
none of
meet
us
in the
were
middle.
wrong. We just have to understand each other's perspective. And that is why I say it comes from having the hard conversations and be
Yeah.
able to sit through that maturely. Not, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I gotta fix this. And not like, oh my God, I gotta run.
I feel like in that dynamic of you got one partner who's more of the avoidance and one partner who's like, let's fix it now. I feel like it's up to the partner who has the more anxious, thing to
Give space.
to not even give space, but to initiate the hard conversation without anxiety.
Yeah.
To do like, baby, like, whenever you have a chance, I really want to talk about what happened a little while ago. Whenever, you're ready to talk, I want to, see if
That
we can
is
have.
called secure attachment.
It's secure attachment.
Secure
Is that
attachment
good?
is a person. Yeah, it's a
So
person.
that's the middle. So that's the middle ground. That's the healthy one.
Is that the middle? I don't know.
I feel like that's good.
It is. It's the person.
It
who
sounds
can
good.
Say,
Secure
like,
attachment.
It's the person who can say like, I'm good on my own. I can understand where I see both perspectives, and if you need space right now, then I'm going to give you that space. But we're going to reconvene and we're going to talk about this, because if I want this to work, we're going to talk it through.
I feel like it needs
If
to be a
both of
little
us want
softer,
this to
though.
work, we're going to talk it through.
Yeah. I feel like we can't be so demanding, though. I feel
No,
like, when you're ready, I
but
would,
it's not
I would
about
like
being
to talk to
demanding.
you.
No, but
instead
it's
of
not about.
instead of we're gonna talk this out, motherfucker. I'm just playing.
I'm sorry. Okay, maybe I worded it wrong, but I don't think it's about being demanding. I think it's that if you're in a relationship, then like I said, we're gonna have to have those hard conversations. So yeah, we are gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
If something happened, we have to talk about it.
We have to. Yeah.
Because
Especially
if you just
a
sweep it under
long-
the rug,
you'll never get anywhere.
no, it's gonna pop up again. So let's figure out where we go from here.
Or that rug is
Or
just
do
gonna
we
get
go from here?
so
You know?
piled up with stuff that you guys are just gonna fall off on like each end of the rug and never and then
Yeah.
the relationship's over before you even know it. You know,
Yeah.
people want the long lasting relationship. They want to live happily ever after. They want to grow old together. They want to die together. They want the 20, 30, 40, 50 year relationship, but they don't understand what it takes.
No.
They're ready to call it quits the first time anything bad happens.
Yep.
They don't know how to have those hard conversations. They just know how to argue and scream and,
And that's
yell.
the issue with not our generation, but today's society. It's so easy to be like, it's probably greener on the other, on the other side.
right.
Like I have all these things available to me. There's probably somebody prettier. There's somebody on social media that'll talk
That's
to me.
what
There's
happens.
somebody,
Yeah.
nobody wants to do the hard work. The grass is greener where you water it. I know that that's a very cliche thing to say, but
No, it's true.
if
though.
I'm watering it here, this is where the grass is going to grow. So we have to be able to sit and have the confrontations and be able to get through it and be able to be adults about things. Think life is more than just
accountability
money.
that we talked about
Life is
earlier.
more than just sex. Life is more than that like pretty
fairy tale
picket, like that white picket fence. Life is getting through the hard things together. If you want a relationship, I mean, you can be single if you want. It's perfectly fine. But if you want to have a partnership, you have to be able to honor both perspectives on things. And
always, yeah.
and I feel like I'm talking and I'm sounding like I have it all figured out, but damn,
No, we
girl,
don't. No, yeah, we
I do
don't.
not.
But we've grown and we've evolved. This
yeah.
is where we're at.
Where I'm at is I know that I can still get triggered.
Yeah.
I know, but I have learned my attachment style and I'm doing everything in my power to work on it.
That's awesome.
And when I feel like I'm getting triggered or when I see that I've gotten triggered, hey, hopefully, I mean, I feel like I can't say that it's not like too late sometimes. Like maybe I've gotten triggered and then I
But
say,
then
wait,
accountability. Then
Yeah.
you practice accountability, apologizing. Those are beautiful things in a relationship because it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. You're going to F up sometimes. You're going to have to apologize. And setting the ego aside, like you said, and apologizing. That's what's going to get you to grow old together. Because like you said, the sex isn't going to last forever. The money, y'all going to be retired living off of God knows what. And you only going to have each other's company. You know how many old people grow together, but they can't stand each other? And you don't want that either,
No, definitely
so
not.
you want to,
I want a partner.
Yeah.
I don't want just like somebody standing next to me. I want a partner
and
ultimately.
I feel like as long as both people are in love with each other, it's always worth the fight and worth the work. Because I know that sometimes someone may just fall out of love with the other person. And then at that point, it's like, that's
It's
the only
where you
time
have
I
the
feel like,
conversation to say-
to have the difficult conversation to go part ways. But if you both love each other, but sometimes can't stand each other, then it's worth it's worth going through it. It's worth putting in the work and the uncomfortable conversations and everything. I think we're good. I think we could wrap it up. I really enjoyed this episode. It was so much fun. It took like a war to get here, I feel. But
yeah, I mean,
finally.
hopefully we can continue a little bit more consistently.
Yes, we're going to try to be more consistent. We're not going to try. We are.
Yeah.
Because we need this. It's therapeutic for us. I feel like we're helping maybe some people out there.
I don't know.
And that's what this whole podcast is about. You know, please enlighten me. We're trying to enlighten the world with, you know, the things that we've learned. We're not perfect, disclaimer.
That is definitely
We don't have it all figured out, like you said. But
if there's anything that you guys want us to talk about, or if there's any stories that you want to share, you're more than welcome to. We'd love to hear it. And again, if you have any topics that you want us to talk about, please let us know so that maybe we can, work that in.
just leave it in the comments below. We'll be more than happy to entertain your topics. So until the next episode, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that little notification button, as they say,
And share.
and bye. No, that's not a timer. That's just a video that's going. Maybe we
Episode 3, guys, we did it.
That's how we started the next episode. So sorry.
We're good.
I love you, Tati.
I love you too.
This was so much fun. Too many more. Bye.